Okay, let's get back at her again. I'm Perla Wisdom. You're listening to NHL Nightly. I'm going solo tonight, as far as I can tell. Rico's not in. Sent a message to occupancy, said he could be in an hour or so. So I got a lot of time to burn here before he gets on. Watching the Florida Rangers. I got the Florida Panthers to win this series. And I'll tell you why. Because they have the better top six two-way player. They have the best top six two-way players in the league, and you can see you even say top nine. I'm not a huge fan of their defense. I'm not a huge fan in Rangers defense, except for Fox, who of course is amazing, but he looks like he's just not right now. Like he looks like he's just not hitting things out of the park at the moment. Um, But overall, I just think the two-way play, especially 5-on-5, off Florida. And people will say, well, everybody said that about Carolina. But the thing is, Carolina plays a great 5-on-5 game. They get a lot of shots on net, but they don't score. Florida is a very similar team in that way to Carolina. The problem is, or well, hey, how you doing, Daniel? Welcome in, my friend. Um, the way I see it, that Florida is the same kind of team as Carolina. I would give Carolina maybe a little bit of advantage on D, certainly not on goal, but they play a similar style. The difference is Florida scores and Carolina doesn't. And as you're seeing in this game, they're dominating the offensive zone. Uh, Florida, that is. And I kind of figured that would be the case. I had Florida in this game. I had Florida in the series. I just think that Florida is a better team overall. I'm not sure the Rangers can grind it out with Florida. And that's what we're seeing so far. Now, it's only a period and a half into the series, but um, the New York Rangers are kind of more of a perimeter team. They're a transition team, and they're not well adjusted to a team that's going to beat the shit out of them in the offensive zone or play a two-way game like the Florida Panthers do. Um, they don't have a system to be able to combat it. They don't have the players to be able to combat it. That's why I got Florida. Oh, I guess I should get my stream up here. Yeah, there we go. Got everybody on there. All right. So I'll go over some of the things, um, some of the events that have happened as of late. McDonough getting traded to the Tampa Bay Lightning by the Nashville Predators, and people are, I mean, a lot of people are wondering what is Tampa Bay doing? Why would the Preds move McDonough? I think they got. I think the Preds have big fish to catch in this off season. A lot of people are talking about Marner, and I could see that. I could see that because Marner's one of the best two-way wingers in the game. Um, People forget about that when you're talking about Toronto. Like the hate on Marner you got a terrible defense there. And he's got a mindset that plays. He has a defensive conscience in the offensive, neutral, and defensive zone. And when your defense is bad like that, it even becomes more like that. So points are more hard to come by for a guy like him, because his first thought is, what is my defensive responsibility no matter where he is on the ice? And that's kind of a lot of the reason why he doesn't put up points in the playoffs, because Toronto isn't given this team the defenseman that would, or goaltender for that matter, Wall maybe, but he's injured quite a bit, that gives guys like Marner confidence to take risks in the offensive zone. He's not a guy that's going to do that. He's actually a defense first player. And it sounds like they're going to trade him. He's a great passer. He'll play offense if he feels confident that the defense are going to be able to support him. And in Toronto, there was no confidence in that. Who did you have there that had a defensive consciousness? Even the guys that they brought up, I'll bring up Cap Friendly here. Even the guys that they brought in at the deadline, like, I'm amazed at how little this team knows about what is good defensively or not. And I think this is an organizational problem. I don't think they get it. Find Toronto here. Lyabushkin. They brought in Lyabushkin and Edmondson to be the defensive conscience for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Neither one of them are good. Neither one of them. At one time, Edmondson wasn't bad defensively, but he was always overrated, and Lyabushkin was absolutely brutal. So they really didn't have much defense to work with. And they're going to have to change that in the offseason for sure. When Simone Benoit seems like a really good option for you, you're in freaking trouble, dude. Like, you're in big trouble. He's not much better than Lyabushkin or Edmondson, really. Their defense on paper needs to get better in the offseason. And I don't even care if you sign Berube. It doesn't matter, really. It doesn't matter that you sign Berube. If you don't do that, you could have Barry Trotz, Tortorella, go on and on. Best coaches in the league, Laviolette. If you keep that defense intact the way it is, you're in trouble. So, but getting back to, I'll get back to why the Preds traded McDonough. McDonough are looking for big fish, and that's the reason why I brought in Marner. They're looking for people to fill that stadium, to be more competitive. And Marner is the type of guy that a guy like oh no, I said Francis, not Francis. What the hell's his name? Oh, I gotta look it up. But Barry Trotz for sure. It's a guy like Barry Trotz. He would drool over this guy. He'd love him on his team. He's one of the best two-way guys in the league. So that's the reason why I get into Toronto's defense, because and Marner's lack of offense is because he feels all the time he has to make sure that he's backing up that D. And he does it. And Matthews, by the way, is pretty damn good too. He's not like amazing defensively, but he's above average, and you score 62 goals and you're above average. You're doing pretty damn good. Nylander, all he cares about is score. They put him on the second line, just tell him to score. So that's pretty much what he is. And Tavares is fairly overrated now. Well, maybe. Depends on what you think Tavares is. He's a guy that can put up points, but he's fallen off the charts as far as underlying stats is concerned. You got the proverbial good guy in the room. I imagine he is. He is the captain of the team, but he's nowhere near making the money that, as a player, the money that he's making, he's overpaid for sure. But it's not horrible to happen. So if you were going to trade Martin, let's say, and I'll be the first one to tell you that I with the cap going up the next couple seasons, I wouldn't do it. But if you were to trade him, where would he go? When you look at like what teams can, first of all, you either got to trade him for the whole cap hit to someone, or you have to get a significant return, especially on the defense from Marner. He's got a no trade clause, so that's going to limit the amount of teams that he can go to. The talk is about Nashville. Marner going to Nashville, and I mentioned that already. Which I could see, I suppose. I think the Preds need defense more than offense, but at this time they're trying to build a team. And whatever the gaps they got to fill, they can fill later. I don't think they are in a situation where like, oh, our defense isn't very good, so we're not going to get Marner. But the return, what are you going to get for a return? Marner can play both sides. And Nashville, if I remember correctly, has some pretty decent cap space. So I'll look it up. Oh, so they got draft picks to be able to make this move. They had a first this year. It's not a very strong draft. You throw in like a Luke Shen or Dante Fabro. Personally, I wouldn't like either one of them. But you got the first round pick. Bringing Marner over. Marner plays. I got to get this lined up a little better so I can get on this fast too. Let me get this my cap friendly going up here. As it stands right now, Toronto doesn't have really all that much cap space. 986,000 to be exact. Roster. Yeah, they got $27 million in signing bonuses that they have to pay next year. So I would think that if you're going to trade Marner, you probably don't want anything back. And I still keep on going back. You want draft picks. Nashville does have some picks. If they really love the guy, they could go the first this year. They got 3 second-round picks this year. They got 2 firsts in 2025. So I think that's likely what they would do, and probably throw Fabro in too, and give like a whole bunch of picks. Toronto gets 10.5 million off the cap, and they can look towards defense and maybe a decent player on Marner's side. But I really think that their main concern is the fact that their defense isn't good enough. They weren't playing 2 of the best defensemen that they have because of their age in Giordano and Brody, which left them with not all that much on the backside, to say the least. We got Morgan Riley, Timothy Liljegren, who I actually kind of like, but Simone Benoit, Jake McCabe, good defensive dude, like him, and then Connor Timmins, who's never been able to get his foot in the door too much in the league. As far as the minors are concerned, you got Kokkonen, Weber, I mean, these guys are, I barely know them. Maybe there's a gem in one of these. It's possible, I suppose, but I would say that if you're going to trade Marner, you're going to need defense or cap space to get a defenseman like Tanev or something like that in free agency. It's a lot to give up. It's a lot to give up. Toronto's going to want to get, like, they're going to tell whoever they're talking to, we're not willing to look stupid here. So you got to make sure you give us a fair value. The other thing that Sports Beer brought up was UC Saros. And basically, he said part of the reason why they could remove themselves as Saros is that they have Yaroslav Askarov coming up. Everything I hear about with Barry Trotz is that Saros isn't going anywhere. He's a believer that, and I agree with it, that a team has to have a good goaltender to be able to put systems in place. If you don't have a very good goaltender, it's hard to put X's and O's on the board. Because really what you're trying to do is make up for the bad goaltending. And it's what you got to do. There's no system really, except for a collapse system, that can make up for that type of goaltending. And that's usually what teams like this do when they're not confident in their goalie. So So I'm not sure Saros would be going in the deal. That's what I'm trying to say. I know he's a UFA next year. It totally makes sense that Toronto. If I'm going to give up on Saros, I want the very thing that Toronto already has in return. I want Joseph Wall back in return. And probably more. And if you don't like it, unless of course Saros has kind of expressed an interest to move on, and then it might be a return that's very underwhelming. And a lot of people don't realize that's the case. Like, it's not just even about no trade clauses. I think no trade clauses don't really make too much of a difference, except for the fact that, like, you can, as soon as, like, if Toronto goes Berube and Shanahan sit around Marner and say, you know what, we're too top heavy. We got to look to trade you. Where do you want to go? You know, we have lots of great offensive players, and you're one of them. But I think it might be even better for you to move on. And that's up to Marner. He can do whatever he wants. But I get this gut feeling that Marner wouldn't be unhappy moving on from Toronto. It's a tough market. He seems like a very humble, private type of dude. And if you're a private type of dude in Toronto, it's not easy, man. So I could see him moving on. I could see it. They can sign Bertuzzi. I wouldn't want Domi. Forget about that. But they could sign Bertuzzi. And especially if you could go to Chicago and play with Bedard. A lot of people have asked me, well, what do you think? You think he's going to waive his no trade clause to go to Chicago? Yeah, I do actually. In fact, I will go as far as to say I think Chicago will win a cup before Toronto. They'll build around that Berard team pretty fast. I don't think that's going to be a 10 year rebuild. They're going to be looking for youngish guys that can support Bedard, score some goals, and play like you need to play. Oh, Rangers got a power play. That's always dicey. Florida's penalty kill has been pretty average too. Like, this is where the Rangers will beat any team is if you give them these power plays. But Florida, they're a tough. Like, they haven't really been hitting out of the park on the penalty kill so far in the playoffs. But overall, including the regular season, they've been great. Or sorry, not against Carolina, against Boston. But overall, they've been great, including the regular season. So I'm not saying it's an advantage for Florida, but it's certain Florida definitely has a better penalty kill than anything the Rangers have played so far this year. And that includes Carolina. Carolina really didn't have the greatest penalty kill this year. They're supposed to have that. And it's a little bit of a head scratcher that they didn't. But They didn't. Oh, wow. What a save by Bobrovsky. My God, man. Crazy. I'm going to share this out. This looks. I thought this was going to be a great series, and it's certainly looking to be the case. Because I got the title wrong on this shit. Fuck. Nightky? The hell? How do I edit this now? How the heck do I edit the title? No, I'll just go straight.